Hello, dear students. I welcome you all in Clatitude's YouTube channel. And today, in this particular video lecture, we are going to talk about fundamental duty, one of the important topic of Indian Constitution. And because somewhere in past, Prime Minister, Vice President, they all highlighted the importance of fundamental duties. Hence, it becomes important for us to know about this topic from exam point of view. So we'll try to understand this entire topic in detail. Now, what is fundamental duty and how this entire activity goes on? So for the very first, you must know that when it comes to duties and rights, we can actually categorize the countries in two parts. Or you can say we know there are two major ideology on which the countries operate. One is liberalism, yani some countries are liberal country, some countries are socialist country, right? We know this. Now, liberal countries are those countries. Now we are talking in terms of rights and duties, right? So liberal countries are those countries which provides rights to its individual. They provide right, but at the same time, they do not demand any duty from their citizen. They have the ideology where they think that people are will voluntarily perform their duties and there is no need to demand such a duty. Okay? Whereas on the other hand, socialist countries, they provide rights to their citizen, right? They provide the rights, but at the same time, these countries, they demand the duties from the citizen. Okay? So these are the two different set of countries, or you can say two different types of countries based on rights and duties. Now, India stands to be a liberal country. I mentioned India is a liberal country. Though in preamble it is mentioned that we are socialist, but you need to understand that in preamble the term socialism highlights the end objective of India. India means to achieve the socialist idea, socialist objective, but we operate like a liberal country. So India operates like a liberal country with an intention to achieve the socialist ideology, and this is Indian form of socialism, very different from the Western form of socialism. So remember, India is a liberal country and not the socialist country. Right? Now, when the Constituent Assembly was making the Constitution of India, when these people were making the Indian Constitution, right? Constitution. So they mentioned the rights in part number 3 of Indian Constitution in the form of fundamental right. But when it comes to duty, the Constituent Assembly refrained from mentioning any duty. And the reason is very obvious because India is a liberal country and not the socialist country, right? So we were thinking that people are going to perform the duties. There is no need to demand such a duty. But with the passage of time, it was noticed that people fail to perform their duty. People are not actually performing their duty. And by the year 1976, that means almost 25, 26 years has passed. And now by the year 1976, when Indira Gandhi was in the power, emergency era was going on. This was emergency era. And Indira Gandhi government was in power, right? Was in power. Now, this government realized that people are not performing their duty, how we can make them to perform their duties. So Indira Gandhi wanted to make the people perform their duty. Hence, she constituted a committee called Swaran Singh Committee. Swaran Singh Committee. Swaran Singh was the external affair minister in Indira Gandhi government. Okay? She constituted a Swaran Singh Committee. Now, this Swaran Singh committee was assigned the task to see why people are not performing the duty and how we can make them to perform the duties. Right now, Swaran Singh committee did the study, and after doing a study, they came up with the recommendation. And in this recommendation, they said that people are actually not aware of the duty, and this is the fundamental reason why people are not performing the duty. If someone do not knows his duty, how can we expect that person to perform that duty, right? First of all, we need to make a person aware. So the recommendation was very clear that we need to create the awareness with respect to fundamental duty. Fundamental duties के context में the awareness need to be created. Now, what is the mean? How you can create the awareness? So this committee, it mentioned that In order to create the awareness, it is right, the right step would be to list down the fundamental duties and place it somewhere near to rights. Wherever we have rights, usi ke aaju baaju mein duties dal do, so that people, once when they will study the right, when they will get to know about the right, at the same time they will also get to know about their duties towards the nation. That means it said to insert fundamental duty in the constitution, right? Insert fundamental duty in constitution. This is the another recommendation by this committee. Now, moving further ahead, this committee said that due to some reason, we can expect that even after highlighting the fundamental duties, even after listing down the duties, even after making people aware about the duties, there is a possibility that people may not perform the duty. Hence, we must make it justiciable. Justiciable has some other sense, other meaning as well. We will talk about the meaning of justiciable and non-justiciable. What does this term actually mean in the later part of this discussion. Okay. So the next recommendation they gave is to make it justiciable. But here itself I mentioned that government did not accept this particular recommendation. This recommendation was not accepted by the government. Okay. Now, and even more recommendation was there, but from exam point of view, we need to understand this much of recommendation. Now, based on this recommendation, what government did? Government came up with the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act. Right? Indian Parliament passed an amendment act called 42nd Constitution Amendment Act of 1976. So remember, this particular Constitution Amendment Act is based on the recommendation of Swaran Singh Committee. Now, by this Amendment Act, Indian Parliament inserted what? Inserted in Constitution. If this is the Constitution, they inserted part number 4A, right? Which includes article number 51A, right? And this is titled as fundamental duties, right? And at that time, 10 fundamental duties were inserted in the Constitution by 42nd Constitution Amendment Act. This particular Constitution Amendment Act is very important. It is also called as mini constitution because it is a very bulky document, and second, it made a change in the constitution to a larger extent. We call this as the mini constitution. Okay? So in 1976, 10 fundamental duties were inserted in the constitution. Now, later, one more fundamental duty was inserted in the constitution, and hence total at present we have 11 fundamental duties, right? Now this fundamental duties was inserted on the recommendation of Verma committee. In the year 1999, a committee was constituted called Verma committee, right? It is this committee that recommended, and on the recommendation of this particular committee, इसके recommendation के ऊपर based on the recommendation of this particular committee, that is Verma committee, in the year 2002, by 86th Constitution Amendment Act, in the year 2002, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was in the power, by Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. Okay? Vajpayee government. One more fundamental duties was inserted. That is the 11th fundamental duty. And present we have total 11 fundamental duty in our constitution. I will tell you which is this one. The 11th one konsa hai. I will tell you later while doing the different all the fundamental duties, the 11 fundamental duties, right? Now we need to understand that the concept of fundamental duty, this fundamental duties, this particular concept is taken from a socialist country. So it is a socialist idea. Socialist idea. Okay. From where did we borrow this concept? We borrowed it from USSR. So we give a credit to USSR because obviously USSR was a socialist country. There they come up with this particular idea, and we have borrowed it from USSR. But when you look at the list of fundamental duties, you will see that, you will notice it is not similar to USSR, but instead it is very much closer or very much similar to that of Japan. Hence, we say that though we have borrowed the idea from USSR, but the concept of fundamental duty is, or the concept is taken from USSR, but the model of fundamental duty is that of Japan, right? The concept is taken from here, right? But the model of Indian fundamental duty is that, is similar to that of Japan. The idea of fundamental duty is to create awareness. Awareness. This is the objective of Indian fundamental duty. It is not to make them people mandatory or force them to perform. Rather, mentioning in the constitution, the ultimate objective of mentioning or highlighting or listing down the duties in the constitution is to create awareness. Okay? Now, another nature, Indian fundamental duty is non-justiciable in nature. Non-justiciable in nature. Now the question comes, what do we mean by non-justiciable? So it has two important sense. First, whenever you say that any section of the constitution or anything is non-justiciable, it simply means that can be enforced only by the legislature and not by the court of law, right? So you write something in the constitution. It does not mean that it is enforced immediately. It need to be enforced by the organ, that is legislature or the judiciary. They will say that it is applicable now from XYZ date, then it becomes enforced, right? Now, who has the authority to enforce the non-justiciable portion? It is only and only legislature. Okay? So it can be enforced only by legislature. Legislature by the means of legislation. How? So by law. By law. They will pass a law and by that they will make it enforced, right? It also means never by the court of law. Never by the court of law, right? Court of law. Right. Fundamental right is justiciable. Hence, we will see there are so many fundamental rights which are enforced by the court of law, right? For example, right to sleep. Right to sleep is nowhere mentioned in the constitution. Right to sleep is not granted to us by the legislature, but by the court of law, right? Similarly, there are so many other fundamental rights which the court, by the means of interpretation, judicial interpretation, they have provided those rights to us, right? That why is it so? Because fundamental right is justiciable in nature. And because fundamental duty is non-justiciable, it can be enforced only by the legislature and not by the court of law. First thing. Second thing, because it is non-justiciable, we cannot, we cannot challenge any matter in the court of law by keeping fundamental duty as a base, right? So no matter can be challenged. No matter can be challenged in court of law by keeping or by placing fundamental duty as at base, right? So you cannot challenge any matter by quoting fundamental duty as the basic material, right? For example, अगर किसी ने मर्डर कर दिया, तो हम क्या आईपीसी को कोट करके बोलते हैं ना कि XYZ activity is a murder and hence the person should be punished. On what ground you are saying that particular activity is a murder? On what ground we say that the person is to be punished? This is on the basis of IPC. So we quote IPC and based on that we do this. But here, because it is non-justiciable in nature, you cannot challenge any XYZ matter by quoting fundamental duty as the base. Okay? So it is non-justiciable in nature. This is what you need to keep in your mind. Now, next important thing to say is fundamental duties. When you will look at the fundamental duty, here itself, let me mention, fundamental duties are for citizen only for citizens. Okay? Only for citizens. This is only for citizens. These fundamental right duties are not for the foreigners, right? These are the obligation or the duties only of citizen towards their country. Okay? Now, next important thing to notice is when we talk about fundamental duty, when we will be looking at the different types or all the different 11 fundamental duties. At that time, you will realize that fundamental duties are fundamental duties are of two nature. Some of the fundamental duties are civic in nature, whereas some of the fundamental duties are moral in nature. Now, what is civic and moral? See, some of the duties, if not performed, समझो कि the people are not performing some of the duties, right? People did not perform the duty. Now, these are the duties, if not performed, is going to impact the society negatively. Society or state. This is going to impact, negative impact इसका आएगा society के ऊपर, right? या फिर state के ऊपर, right? Whereas there are some of the duties, if not performed, if these are not performed, this is not going to create any negative impact on society or the state, right? Negative impact यहाँ पर impact नहीं होगा, यहाँ पर negative impact होता है, right? So the duties, if not performed, which is going to create a impact, negative impact on the society, such of the duties are called civic, whereas those duties which, if not performed, obviously is not going to create any negative impact on the society, such duties are called moral. Now, if you do not perform this duty, it's okay. अगर आप नहीं परफॉर्म करेंगे, even in that case it is okay. Government is not going to make you or force you to perform this. But civic duty, if an individual, if the citizen do not perform this particular duty, obviously this is not acceptable, right? Government को ये accept तो नहीं होगा ना, government कैसे accept कर देगी? Because if you will not perform this duty, this is not acceptable. Reason, it is casting a negative impact on the society. So government will make sure that you perform this duty. Now, how government makes sure that you perform this duty? So how government is going to make sure that you perform this duty? Government will simply pass a law. Government will pass a law, and by this law, they will make it mandatory. See, you need to understand, when we talk about the constitution, mentioning in the constitution, the objective is awareness, right? It is non-justiciable because you cannot place this particular document as a ground for challenging any matter in the court of law. This is the simple thing of mentioning in the constitution. But there are some of the duties, if not performed, is okay. But there are some of the duties which is very necessary for the society to be performed by the individual. Hence, what government will do, यहाँ पर तो individual को कुछ problem नहीं किया, लेकिन इस केस में गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी? गवर्नमेंट लॉ पास करके रखेगी, और लॉ के थ्रू अगर यहाँ आपने कुछ नहीं किया तो चल जाएगा, लेकिन अगर ये वाला परफॉर्म नहीं किया तो लॉ के थ्रू आपको पनिश कर दिया जाएगा. Yani by the means of law, government is going to make sure that you perform this duty, right? So how government is doing this? Government actually passes the law, and by the means of law, they will do this. Like, for example, we have Prevention of Disrespect of National Honors Act of 1971, right? We have Environmental Protection Act of 1986. All these are the different acts. For example, see, there is a fundamental duty. I give you an example. We have a fundamental duty. There is one fundamental duty which is saying it is important to, we all must protect the environment. Okay? There is a fundamental duty which is talking about environment. If you do not perform this duty, if you do not protect the environment, then what we have? We have, on the other hand, we have the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. By this act, government is going to punish you. Okay? So, objective of writing in the constitution is different, is to create the awareness, but at the same time to make sure that you perform some duties. Government, on the other hand, has a law. By the means of law, they will actually punish you if not perform those duties, right? That means if you are going against this act, that simply means that you are going against the duty. Then similarly, we have one of the fundamental duty which talks about to abide by the constitution. Constitution के साथ abide करो, ऐसा करो, वैसा करो, and all those things. Respect the national flag, national anthem, right? National flag, national anthem, ये सबको respect करो. This is one of the duty. Now, if we do not perform this duty, this is going to cast a negative impact on the society. Is that not right? That is clear. Now, what government did? Government came up with the Prevention of Disrespect. That means Prevention of Disrespect of National Honors Act, right, of 1971. Now, it is this act which talks about the same obligation, which casts the same obligation on the people. Now, if you do not perform this duty, you are not punished because of not performing the duty, but you are punished for violating this particular act, and hence by this act you will be punished, right? So, are you say, can you see? यहाँ गवर्नमेंट सीधा ऐसा नहीं पकड़ेगी, लेकिन ऐसा घुमा कर खाना आपका पकड़ने वाला काम करेगी। अगर आपने ड्यूटी परफॉर्म नहीं किया तो इनडायरेक्टली दैट इज लीडिंग टू अ वायलेशन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर एक्ट, एंड बाय द एक्ट वी वन विल बी punished, right? So the duties, so the duties for which government by law can make the people, or government by law makes the people to perform the duties, such duties are called civic duties, whereas other duties are called moral duties. Okay? I hope till now everything is clear. Now I will explain you all the 11 fundamental duties. Remember, from exam point of view, it is very important that you must know these duties, right? What are the 11 fundamental duties? I have the list of fundamental duties, but I prefer to explain here on this board by writing the key words of the duties, so that even in this case, you will be able to understand, right? For example, the first duty is related to abide by constitution. To abide by constitution, national flag, national anthem, all these things ko respect bhi karo, right? This is the first duty. And can you see this duty itself is very simple to highlight the fact that if these things are not performed, if these things are not done, this is going to negatively impact the society, negatively impact the state. So this is what, this is a civic duty. It is a civic duty. And hence, if not performed, government is going to punish the individual. Then, to cherish noble ideas and ideas of freedom struggle, ideas and freedom struggle के जितने भी ideas थे. Now, if you do not cherish the noble ideas, if you do not cherish the ideas of freedom struggle like अहिंसा, आप बोलो मेरे को अहिंसा सत्याग्रह ये सब पे भरोसा नहीं है, आपने मारा पीटा नहीं किया, but you do not cherish that ideas, it's okay. अगर आपको महात्मा गांधी के ideas पसंद नहीं है तो it's okay, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. This all lies at the individual level, right? So this is what, this is the moral duty. If not performed, even in that case it is okay. यहाँ ऐसा नहीं है कि आप इसके अगेंस्ट में एक्ट कर रहे हो, यू आर नॉट चेरिशिंग दैट आइडिया, इट्स ओके, इट्स एब्सोल्युटली फाइन. ठीक है, आपको योग पसंद नहीं है, आप योग को चेरिश नहीं कर रहे, इट्स ओके. आप अहिंसा को चेरिश नहीं कर रहे, इट्स ओके. ठीक है, यू आर नॉट चेरिशिंग, इट्स ओके. So then we have third, to uphold the unity. See, ACU, actually there is ACUD, PPP, TSSP. These are the alphabet, the letters of the alphabet by which actually I memorized. You can memorize it by any way. If you know some of the keywords, by this, you will be able to memorize the whole thing. To uphold, U se aata hai, to uphold what? Unity, integrity, and sovereignty of the nation. Now, can you see this sovereignty of the nation? Now, if you do not uphold the unity, integrity, अगर आप unity, देश की एकता को uphold करके नहीं रख रहे हो, इसका मतलब आप उसको break कर रहे हो. And this is going to negatively impact the society. Hence, this is what it is, a civic duty, right? You will easily understand the civic and the moral duty. And hence, we have the law. There are so many laws like UAPA, National Security Act. There are so many acts by which one is punished if they are not upholding the unity, integrity, or the sovereignty of the nation. That means if they are harming the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of the nation, right? It is our duty to uphold this thing. Then fourth one is to defend the nation and render the national service. Defend nation and render national service. Nation and render national service. Service. Okay. So this one, it is our duty to defend the nation whenever required. It is our duty to defend the nation, to render the national service. But let me tell you, this particular thing is voluntarily. This is not forcefully, cannot be asked, demanded by the people, by the government. If you're not rendering the national service, it is absolutely fine. That means it is a moral duty. बट इट इज सब्जेक्ट टू सर्टेन एक्सेप्शन। सर जब आप फंडामेंटल राइट्स में आर्टिकल नंबर 23 पढ़ेंगे तब आपको पता चलेगा कि वॉर के टाइम पे गवर्नमेंट आपसे फोर्सफुली भी काम करवा सकती है, वो एक दूसरा चीज है। बट अभी के लिए समझिए कि दिस इज द मॉरल ड्यूटी, ठीक है। नाउ सो ACUD is done. Now what is P? P is to preserve the cultural heritage. To preserve cultural heritage. Preserve cultural heritage. हेरिटेज, ठीक है। नाउ कल्चरल हेरिटेज को प्रिजर्व करना, अगर आप इंडिया के कल्चर, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप कुंभ मेला की आइडियोलॉजी को नहीं मानते, आप उसको प्रिजर्व करने के लिए कुछ नहीं काम कर रहे, इट्स ओके। अगर आप कोई भी मकर संक्रांति नहीं प्रिजर्व कर रहे हो, मतलब वो आइडिया धीरे धीरे अगर वैनिश हो रहा है, यू आर नॉट प्रिजर्विंग दैट पर्टिकुलर कल्चरल हेरिटेज ऑफ इंडिया, कल्चरल हेरिटेज, राइट, देन इट्स ओके, इट इज मॉरल, बट you need to understand this as a citizen. The government wants we people to preserve the cultural heritage because these cultural heritage tends to create the soft power of the country in the world, right? And hence, and we all know that soft power is the most important tool in the international affair. So to preserve the cultural heritage is the next important thing, or it is the next duty of the people of India, the citizen of India, okay? Then we are done with the 5, then 6. P is to promote common brotherhood, promote brotherhood, brotherhood, and to and the dignity and preserve the dignity of individual, dignity of women, dignity of women, ठीक है। नाउ कैन यू सी दिस, ब्रदरहुड को प्रमोट करो, अगर आप ब्रदरहुड प्रमोट नहीं करोगे तो फिर इसका मतलब होता है क्या, आप यूनिटी को हार्म कर रहे हो। If you do not promote the dignity of women, if you do not respect the dignity of women, then it is actually indirectly, or you can say directly, it will impact the society, it will negatively impact the society. This is the civic duty, right? Duty. Now, to promote the common brotherhood, this is another important thing. Then comes the sixth one, that is to promote brotherhood, then to protect environment. Protect environment. This is another duty casted on us by the constitution. Again, this is a civic duty. If not performed, obviously society harm हो जाएगी। Environment को protect करना बहुत जरूरी है, ठीक है। इसीलिए इस ड्यूटी को परफॉर्म करवा रहा है आपका कौन सा एक्ट, दैट इज एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट, एयर एक्ट, वाटर एक्ट, जो ये सब डिफरेंट एक्ट्स है, वो भी आपसे यही ड्यूटीज एक तरीके से परफॉर्म करवाती है। और अगर आपने ये ड्यूटी नहीं परफॉर्म किया तो आपको पनिशमेंट इसलिए नहीं दिया जाता है कि आपने ड्यूटी परफॉर्म नहीं किया, इसलिए दिया जाता है कि आप उस एक्ट के वॉयलेट कर चुके हैं, राइट। सो इनडायरेक्टली वो एक्ट आपसे यही ड्यूटी परफॉर्म करवा रहा है। तो दिस इज व्हाट, दिस इज आल्सो अ सिविक ड्यूटी, राइट। नाउ वी आर डन विथ ACUD PPP and now we have DSSP, और इसी के साथ आपका फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी कंप्लीट हो जाएगा। व्हाट इज D? is to develop the scientific temper. Develop what? Scientific temper and spirit of inquiry, right? Spirit of inquiry. Now, inquiry. Now, the Constitution wants its citizen to have the scientific temper, not blindly believe on anything. The society which has a scientific temper is progressive society. अगर आपको किसी ने बोल दिया कि पत्ता ग्रीन है क्योंकि भगवान ने वैसा करके रखा है, और आप उसी को बिलीव करके चलोगे, तो कभी सोसाइटी प्रोग्रेस नहीं करेगा। कुछ लोग थे जिन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, वी नीड टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज द रीजन, राइट। तो उन्होंने फाइंड आउट किया कि भाई इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ क्लोरोफिल। तो ये क्या है? साइंटिफिक टेम्पर है, स्पिरिट ऑफ इंक्वायरी है, एंड एनी सोसाइटी व्हिच हैज द स्पिरिट ऑफ इंक्वायरी इज द प्रोग्रेसिव सोसाइटी। अब समझ जाओ कि आपका सोसाइटी एक बहुत ही बोंदा सोसाइटी है जहां पर लोगों में स्पिरिट ऑफ इंक्वायरी नहीं है। तो इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी कि आप उसको पनिश कर दोगे, ये होना जरूरी है, लेकिन अगर नहीं है तो किसी को पनिश हम नहीं कर सकते। कि कोई अगर स्पिरिट ऑफ इंक्वायरी नहीं रखता है और वो सिर्फ ब्लाइंडली अगर भगवान के ऊपर बिलीव कर रहा है, तो इट्स ओके, राइट। सो दिस इज व्हाट, दिस इज द मॉरल ड्यूटी, दिस इज मॉरल ड्यूटी। नाउ 8, we have now to safeguard the public property, to safeguard the public property and adjourn the violence, ठीक है, public property. Now this one is the civic duty, अगर आप पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी, यहाँ पर सेफगार्ड दी पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी के अकॉर्डिंगली है कि आप पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी को हार्म मत कॉज करना, राइट, और कोई भी वायलेंस को कॉज मत करना। वी ऑल नो कि जब रिपब्लिक डे के टाइम पर आपका रेड फोर्ट के वहां पर व्हेन लास्ट टाइम जब कुछ मॉब्स लोगों ने वायलेंस कॉज किया था, दैट इज व्हाट, दैट इज नथिंग बट द causing a damage to the public property. So after that incident, Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted the importance of fundamental duty, right? And on many other occasions, government highlighted the importance of fundamental duties. So this particular topic is important. So to safeguard the public property and to abjure the violence is the fundamental duty that we need to perform, we are asked to perform. Then to strive, it is our duty to strive for excellence, whether you are performing any work in at individual capacity or at in collection. That means collectively you are performing some duty, or at the community level, at the individual capacity. When whatever capacity you are performing any act, the constitution says to its citizen, it's your duty to strive for excellence, achieve the excellence, because when you achieve the excellence, you actually serve your country. For example, take Sachin Tendulkar, for say this one, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. They have achieved the excellence, and because of their excellence, actually India got the credit. India is praised. India is is glorified because of their achievement. When Team India wins the World Cup, it is not just that 11 players, but the whole country cherish, and the whole country is praised. The India is praised for their achievement. So the constitution says that it is your duty towards this country that you achieve excellence in whatever activity, whatever work you do. When we talk about APJ Abdul Kalam, he achieved the excellence. And because of his excellence, actually India is also cherished. India is praised. India is glorified. कि वो भाई इंडिया को वैसा तगड़ा आदमी था. Right? So constitution asks us to strive for excellence. This is wonderful thing. So this are 9 things, right? Then 10th one is, this one is, we did year 5, sorry, the numbering was wrong. This is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, and now this one is 10th. Now the final one, that means 11th one. This 11th one is related to parents and guardians. Parent and guardians. They have been asked to provide free and compulsory education which is available to the children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. Now, it is the duty, the constitution says to the parents कि भाई ये आप लोगों की ड्यूटी है कि आप अपने बच्चे लोगों को जो 6 to 14 years के अंदर के हैं, उनके लिए जो फ्री एजुकेशन अवेलेबल है वो आप देने आओ, वो आप दिलाओ उसको, बच्चों को वो एजुकेशन आप प्रोवाइड करो. बट रिमेंबर, दिस इज द मॉरल ड्यूटी, इट इज नॉट द सिविक ड्यूटी. रीजन क्या है कि अगर पेरेंट्स नहीं भेजते अपने बच्चों को, ये माना जाता है कि पेरेंट्स दे हैव अ गुड इंटेंशन टुवर्ड्स द चिल्ड्रन, राइट, बट they all want their children to be well educated. But even after that, if they are not sending their children to education, they must not be punished. But instead, we need to see the reason behind that. Reason might be they do not have the awareness with respect to the importance of education. This might be the reason. So there is a need to create the awareness with respect to the education among the parents, how important the education is. And second reason might be financial restraint. Financial restraint means they might have the thought process that instead of sending to the school, if the child goes to any workplace, if he performs certain work, he may earn some amount for the family. So that can be a reason that the people are not, the parents or the guardian are not interested in sending the children to the school, to get the education. Rather, they are interested in sending it him or her to some other place. That means place of work. So here you must not punish. There is no need, or it is not wise to punish the parents. Rather, it is important to create the awareness and provide them with the means of livelihood, so that they can earn, and they need not to depend on the earning of their children. And by this, you can actually come up with the problem, whatever the problem is prevailing here. And that is the reason this one is the moral duty and not the civic duty. And it is this 11th one which was added by 86th Constitution Amendment Act of 2002, right, by Atal Bihari Vajpayee government on the recommendation of the Verma committee, right? And one last information, that there is another committee which was constituted in the year 2002. That is the the commission to review the constitution, right? Constitution Review Committee was constituted in the year 2002. This did not say anything very much, new or different, but rather they supported the idea of supported the recommendation of Verma committee. Verma committee, right? Verma committee कब का है? तो this is of 1999. They talked about this 11th. This particular constitution committee on the working of the constitution committee on the working of the constitution, this particular committee was constituted. Even this supported, and after its support, government came up with the 86th Constitution Amendment Act, and by 86th Constitution, this particular thing was inserted in the Constitution. I hope you understood the fundamental duty. With this much of thing, entire information is covered. Nothing to do in addition. This much of information is everything related to fundamental duties. Okay? If you have any query, you can write in the